Hey, Nate here. Welcome to the live stream. I'm usually behind the computer making sure your comments come through as you ask them so that the lawyers can talk about them. Before we hop into the live stream, I just want to let you know of something that is really cool that we offer completely free. It's a physical version of a book written by attorney Matthew Hill that talks you through the entire VA disability process from beginning to end. The link is going to be put in the comments right now by me, and it's also in the description. I highly recommend you click the link and claim your free book now. I cannot stress how much this is going to help you. So if your question isn't answered today, it could be answered in this book that we will mail to you completely for free. That being said, let's go ahead and get this live stream started. We're going to go through the questions in order as they come. And if we don't get to yours, we apologize, but maybe we'll be able to get to it in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for joining us. And now it's time for the lawyers to answer some questions.
Hello, Matthew Hill with Carol Ponton here for another Hill and Ponton Live VA Q&A. We are excited to be here. We have one thing coming up in the middle. We've had a lot of questions about the Alaska case, which regards TBI and how to get special monthly compensation. We're going to wait till about halfway through to talk about that, but we've been asked about it again and again, and we just kind of been brushing over because we hadn't had a chance to fully review the case. Had a chance to look at it, really excited to talk about it and give you guys some in-depth analysis. We're actually going to pull up what the ANA sheet looks like and what the VA is looking for on those issues so that hopefully if it applies to you, you can really zero in on what you need to be able to get those benefits. But we're just going to go ahead and start out now with the questions we have lined up, and then we'll come back to that. Angel, good to see you. Greetings. VA severed my direct service connection for sleep apnea effective November 1st, 2024. Based on QTERA. I have a BVA direct docket. Will I lose my OSA pay or continue to receive it until the decision?
You'll lose it.
Yeah, you should lose it. There's sometimes is a waiver where you can ask to keep it while the appeal is going. That comes with a catch, though, that if you lose, you have to pay it back. So read the paperwork when you get a final decision in, what is that, November 1st, and see what it says there. But, you know, if you appeal and win, they will give you the benefits back to the date that they severed it.
And remember, if you file a direct appeal, they're not going to, you need to waive the 1 year, because that's one of the things we learned, that the direct appeal, that is only supposed to take a few months, they hold it for a year just and see if you change your mind. So you need to waive the 1 year waiting period and ask them to make a decision right away.
Yeah. And
then, of course, if you have any other things that would, you're 75 or older, or homeless, or terminal, or having any other financial problems, you know, ask them to expedite your case.
Michael, I see the VA is putting respiratory conditions under sleep apnea now. So would it be a waste of time to file asthma secondary to my 50% sleep apnea, or would it be pyramiding? I don't think it would be a waste of time, because they're going to redo the sleep apnea reg, and the 50% is going to be reduced probably to 10%. So I would get that asthma on file as you could right now. But as far as the current rating for sleep apnea and asthma, it most likely would be considered pyramiding, and they wouldn't give you both.
Right.
Sherry, this one's for Carol. How many are too many claims to be submitted at once? Thank you for all that you do. I've been praying for everyone in the path of the hurricane. Be safe. Our thoughts and prayers go to everybody too. Please batten down the hatches. Safe. This is going to be a really big one. So yeah, tuck her in.
I think you should file everything that you think you might be entitled to because of service connection. Now, you shouldn't just file wildly. If you truly believe there's a service connection, file for it, and make sure you're clear about the problems that go with what you're filing for. So, for instance, high blood pressure. Did you have a stroke? Do you look at your lab works? Do you have chronic kidney disease? Do you have hypertensive heart disease? What I'm saying is, not only file for high blood pressure, file for any of the problems you have that could have been caused by that.
In other words, secondary service connection.
Secondary service connection. So yes, file for everything, because you're going to get benefits starting with that date. And I find that, say you file for a back condition and the VA gives you service connection for your back, but doesn't mention the radiculopathy down each leg, we have to fight them tooth and nail. We have to file another claim asking, although a new case just came out on that and said that that is considered part of the claim. But the VA to this point has taken the position, well, if you want it, you should have asked for it.
It's always been considered part of the claim.
Yes.
But they as Carol said, you got to ask for it. There's the case law, and then there's the getting you the benefits. Okay.
Yeah.
And we want to get you the max benefits as far back possible without having to hang out in the red tape for your, the rest of your life.
And
so
here's
that's what Carol's saying is,
and I do this for all my clients now. I've changed everything I do. I go back and I see everything I think they might be entitled to, and I file for it, including unemployability, including aid and attendance. That's if you need help, because a lot of people are hesitant or they don't want to admit that they need help. But the problem is, once you finally agree you need it, you're only going to get benefits from the month after you file it most of the time with the VA. Now, we fight them regarding that, but I'm telling you, they have this thing about when the date the application was filed. Loss of use of feet, loss of use of hands, go through everything that you might hand and file for it. Now, one of the things that I've heard people do before that you shouldn't do is, I've heard that like some of the VSOs have said, tell me all your problems. And so they list all their problems, but they don't say whether or not they were related to service. Don't do that. Make sure you think they're all related to service. And thank you for doing this. It's so sad to me to see somebody come to me for an increased rating for hearing or tinnitus when they have all of these other problems they haven't filed for that which would have given them so much more money. So thanks for the question.
Yeah. And it's so Carol said, it's what you feel like is related to service. And then the research for you to do is, what does that problem cause? Okay. And this is something to talk to your doctor about, talk to your spouse about, look on your medical records, see what diagnoses you have on there that are listed, but it's what directly is related to service, and then what secondary problems were caused by that. Because as Carol said, the way VA math works and the rating schedule is, those secondary problems will most likely have a greater or higher percentage than the primary problems.
And let me throw one other out that's big. Cardiac problems. The statistics show that 70% of men who have a cardiac problem also have depression. File for depression. You men out there are the worst about wanting to file for that. And half the time I have to say, let me talk to your wife. Because if you have it, you should be compensated for it. And the VA has a crazy schedule. Sometimes I feel like they give so little for what is a big problem, but then it's easy to get depression for somehow.
50%.
50% is pretty easy to get. So if you have it, let it benefit you. There's depression for back pain. Oh my gosh, think of how limiting your life is when you have back pain. So please think about all these problems and ask someone who knows you to see what problems they noticed you started having once you started having back pain or heart pain or whatever it is. So that's why I go through every single thing I can think of and file them all. It does not hurt you. It only helps you.
Cynthia, I applied for service connection for hepatic stenosis, fatty liver disease with obesity as an intermediary step, but was denied. How do I get service connected for the hepatic stenosis as a PACT active veteran? So we're basically saying that obesity was what was directly service connected, and then that caused,
or hypertension could cause it. I don't really know. And what benefit would you get? A lot of people have fatty livers, but I don't know that there's a rating for that. I mean, like,
what are the symptoms is what we'd be.
Yeah, you would have to, I want to make sure you're going to get a decision that'll give you something. So lots of people have fatty livers and that's not going to get you anything. So maybe there's something more going on that I don't know about. Always remember, if you're filing for something, make sure it's going to be worth your while. Okay. I'm not sure that's going to help you.
Linda, good to see it. For high blood pressure to be service connected, secondary, can depression and obesity cause hypertension or sleep apnea?
I've seen literature
Obesity,
that depression can cause high blood pressure.
Oh, it can as well.
Yeah.
So both those can. As far as sleep apnea, I think obesity definitely can. Depression, I don't know about so much as PTSD is more one that we see.
Depression can cause sleep apnea. Are we seeing, or I'm not sure.
That's what they're asking.
Yeah, definitely. We file a lot of claims for depression for sleep apnea, but I forgot to bring it to me. There is a great new theory. It's called particulate matter.
Oh, right.
Yes, that if you file for service connection for sleep apnea due to particulate matter. That's all the toxins in the air you've been related to. There, you can get benefits for that. The person got benefits due to the CMP exam opinion. So we're going to put that. I think we can put it out and take the guy's name off of it. How should we do that? It wasn't our case originally.
Blog, maybe.
Okay, so we're going to put that out because that's the other way. And they granted it at the regional office, first time claim, particulate matter under the toxins in the Terra memo.
And it caused
Sleep apnea
for sleep apnea,
because it affects your ability to breathe.
AF Vet 1 of 3. The VBA is requiring a nexus for my compensation claim of chronic rhinitis. I have a current diagnosis and conceded Terra from exposure to jet fuels and asbestos. The VBA is saying that I'm not a qualified veteran for this condition as presumptive, no nexus needed, since my exposure was stateside and not one of the PACT Act approved locations like Vietnam. I did become eligible for VA healthcare due to the Terra, but no compensation for the presumptive without a nexus. Is this correct? Let's go back to the first one. So if they're requiring a nexus and they gave you a Terra memo, that Terra memo frankly should have included a nexus, meaning the CMP examiner found that it could be caused, the rhinitis could be caused by jet fuel and asbestos, and apparently that was stateside where you were, whatever base you were at. There should have been a nexus there. So to me, this is inadequate. This is a failure of duty to assist here, because it's great they did the Terra memo, but by doing that, that basically concedes that they need to do a nexus there. So even if they can't say it's presumptive because you weren't at a certain location, they have conceded that you were exposed to the same toxins you would have been exposed to abroad. So they have to do this here as part of their CMP duties.
And then, and in that Terra memo, some of the Terra memos did not, the initial Terra memos did not have this. It would just go where you were exposed abroad. Now, all of the Terra members, they're supposed to be amended, and all of the new ones have at the very bottom, it says, with not being abroad, within the US, have you been exposed to toxins just from your work alone? And that should be on your Terra memo, because jet fuel and asbestos are definitely there on that list. So make sure you have an updated Terra memo, and then that should show that you should be service connected right there.
Yeah. Teddy, I'm finally service connected 10% for the left ankle after 29 years. I got denied bilateral plantar fasciitis and lumbar direct. Should I do a secondary or HLR?
I'd like to know why you got denied. Was it because you don't have those problems, or because they don't find their secondary?
He asked for direct, it looks like. He was saying they were directly service connected.
Oh, in other words, well, I think that you should file definitely for your back being either direct or secondary to your left ankle. I think that's a really easy claim, because clearly the left ankle is going to throw your whole gait off. Plantar fasciitis, I think you're going to have to, I would make sure that you had buddy statements and you had treatment. If you didn't have treatment in the service, have buddy statements and a current diagnosis. But I'm guessing, because I don't really know why they denied you.
So if you're saying they did not consider secondary service connection, I would file a higher level review, because you filed a claim to get those issues service connected. They have to consider all theories of law. So you could file for higher level review and say, okay, even if you don't think it's direct service connected, here I'm service connected for my ankle. I believe my ankle caused these things, and which means they probably would have to send you out for a CMP exam.
Right. And that should get your back at least service connected.
Another step. Good to see you. I had an injury to my wrist while I was on active duty at a very small post. I did go to the TMC for treatment. I was unable to visit the clinic prior to release from active duty to pick up my medical records to turn in at the MOB station. The STR is not in my C file. How difficult would it be to get service connected for my current wrist issue? With a buddy statement help? Yes, a buddy statement will definitely help, but where will it help, Carol?
It's not going to help until you get to the board.
Yeah, for some reason, the RO just doesn't acknowledge the legal authority that a buddy statement should have. But if somebody who knew you in service, and again, we want them to speak to what they saw, what they knew before and after, how you were basically,
things you couldn't do.
Yeah, things you couldn't do, those kind of things. So have them speak to that. And if you get denied at the RO, just go right to the board.
Now you can try and write the other thing we don't know is how long ago did this happen. You can try to write to that station and see if they still have the records. If not, you can write to where they keep all the files in St. Louis and tell them, explain what happened and see if they can find them. But that's usually,
That can be a goose chase.
yeah. For some reason, they just don't know what they did with all these records.
Fibs, hello. First question. I have not filed for mental health. I'm building a case. I have an appointment with my shrink today and giving an update on my medication, which has increased my dosage twice already. If I tell them it works, does that exclude me from receiving disability for mental health?
No.
No, you need to file it. At least file an intent to file to make sure you're getting,
Please.
the correct date or as far back as you can on the date for your benefits. We're just big believers in filing right away because, these are benefits you're entitled to. Every month you wait is more benefits of yours that the VA is keeping.
From clients, we often have, my PSA is rising. Should I file for prostate cancer? Well, we don't know. So we file an intent to file a claim, and that leaves it open, whatever they find out. And then sometimes other things pop up that we can file as well. So definitely file intent to claim anytime you think you're going to file, but you're not sure exactly what you want to file. And then when you file everything on the same day. So they all have that earlier, the date of the intent to file as the claim date. Did he have another question?
No.
Oh, okay.
Lonnie, court case. Barry v. McDonough, 2022, ruled you can get multiple steps and increase instead of one SMCP. My current rating is SMCM, loss of use plus 100% bowel incontinence. I have additional separate, is that it? Ratings of 60, 60, 30, 30. Is it possible to get granted SMCN or higher? Okay, so just kind of backing up a bit. 100% in VA is not 100%. You can get on top of that special monthly compensation. You have to have extraordinary disabilities to do that, but unfortunately there's a lot of folks out there that have those. Typically they involve loss of use of an organ, that's SMCK. You can have multiples of those. You can have one disability 100%, and other disabilities that combine to 60%, that's SMCS. You can have aid and attendance, which is SMCL, where basically you can't do one or multiple activities of daily living. Once you get to SMCL and above, if you have ratings for other disabilities that don't cause the aid and attendance, so you have aid and attendance, let's say for your back, but then you have a depression of 50, you have another 50 for sleep apnea. You have 100% for TBI. Yeah. Well, we'll take that. You can get half steps or full steps. So going back to what Lonnie's saying here, he's already has. It sounded like he had SMCL, aid and attendance for something, but had that separate 100% for incontinence. So he got a full step up to SMCM. The case law that you pointed out does state that you can get additional steps or half steps in your case. You are eligible for at least 2 half steps for the 60 and the 60. So yes, you should be able to get up to SMCN. Now, this is new case law. It's not extremely clear. So I imagine you're going to have to fight this probably to the board to get it. But yes, this is worth fighting for. And yes, you are entitled to multiple steps and half steps.
So this is a new case, Barry versus McDonough, and that we are thrilled about. And I'm pulling out every single case I have where someone has SMCL at least, and seeing if they have additional 50 or 100% so we can raise them up. And also this case is, I read it and it was like, geez, what did they say? So both of us are excited about the case. We think it has great benefits for the veteran, but we're not quite sure what it said. We think that the highest you can get using this is O. But I'm not sure about that either because there's some strange language in there. So what I'm going to go back and I'm going to appeal every single one that I have asking for the correct SMC rating. And if you have the 50, the 100, or this is another thing I'm not sure and I'll know better later, if it's the same body part, say it's Parkinson's and you have 30 for this and 20 for that, you can combine them, I think. And if that gets you to 50 or 100, then you can use those as well. So say you have a back problem. Back's 40, radiculopathy 20 on each side, that gives you the 50%. but this is great, but it's complicated, and until we see how it plays out, neither one of us are really sure, except I'm going to ask for all of it. So
I definitely feel that you should be able to get SMCN with those two 60% ratings, though.
he's already at N.
No, he's at M.
He's at M. Yeah, you should definitely get in.
And depending on what those 30s are, as Carol said, if those are combinable because they're the same appendage or same issue, then that's a possibility as well.
Yeah. And that's another reason why I file for my veterans will say, why are you filing? I already have almost 100%. And I've been saying you can use these later on if we get SMC. It's like a ladder. You keep going up, but you have to assemble all the parts to put the ladder together to get up it. So a lot of times I'll file for a lot of things that will give them far more than 100%, but then it also will give them these benefits under SMC.
Question from newsletter subscriber. I've been denied by the VA. My MOS was heavy equipment operator. I was trained as a crane operator in Leonard Wood. When I was sent to Vietnam, I was assigned a combat engineer line company. For the first 7 months, I was assigned to several infantry outfits, both mechanical and leg.
Logistics.
I was in firefights, blown off track, but all the VA cares about was the heavy equipment operator. No mention of pulling an anchor chain between two dozers to set off mines and booby traps. I am not certain that any appeal will change their minds, even though I have several medical problems. They even denied my hearing loss.
You are clearly within the combat regulation. The law says that if you were injured during combat, the VA has to believe you. Now, I know they don't, but the BVA will most of the time.
In combat, though.
If he was blown off of his dozer, he was in combat. Didn't he say there was an explosion?
But he needs some kind of record that shows that he was doing that. That's the problem.
Well, if you can get buddy statements, that's a very interesting case. Those are the kind that I like. You can really get into them.
Send it to Carol if you call in. Yeah, but you got to have something showing that you were in combat. Unfortunately, your MOS here, they're using it against you, even though that they're not appreciating the versatility of your MOS and how it was creatively used in a war theater. So you need a statement from somebody you worked with, somebody you worked for, something that can say, yeah, this is what he was actually doing. This is how we were using the heavy equipment to clear minefields, or if somebody was in the firefight with you to talk about that as well. But yeah.
Here's another question. Did you ask for your military personnel records? Remember, the C file does not necessarily enclose those. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't have them. Every case I have, I write for them. And inevitably about 25-30% of the time I get stuff that was not in the C file. One of the ways I was able to prove that a veteran was in Vietnam was his performance record. It noted about how helpful he had been while in Vietnam. And the VA had consistently denied him, said he wasn't in Vietnam, and that's how we proved it. So those military personnel records are really wonderful. You control through there and find a lot of things. You also often can find names of people who were in your company, or so that's the kind of thing I love to do, because you just try to research everything you can think of. Sometimes I don't know if you went into reserve after that. Sometimes the records are sent to your reserve and they never end up in the regular file. They're in the reserve file somewhere. There are just so many things that are possibilities with cases like that I don't give up.
Literature one of three. I used AI to create some medical treatises with citations to submit on my supplemental claim. Should I include the underlying citation documents in my claim, or just submit these treatises and citations? Also, can I submit a rebuttal argument to the VBA examiner in the same supplemental claim, or am I limited to new evidence only?
Did he say he's going to HLR, or I'm not sure?
Looks like he wants to do supplemental claim.
Yeah, supplemental claim, you can put anything new in.
Yeah, go back to the second one here. Should I include underlying citation documents?
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, the treatises are the underlying documents.
Well, maybe he's just copying the body of it and not the. And he needs to show where it came from.
Show citations.
Yeah.
And then if you show the citations, that should be your new and relevant evidence. And then, you can always make argument on top of that.
But a lot of times what I do, if I can file a higher level review, if I'm really upset about what happened with the CMP exam, I'll do that as well.
You can't do that as well as a supplemental claim. He's already filing a supplemental claim.
All right, if he's filing them, but every time I get a supplemental claim decision where there was a poor CMP exam, that's one of the bases for my higher level review.
Is not reviewing what he sent in medical record wise.
I would say that he had not sent those in, right?
Right.
All right, but what I'm talking about is if you have a CMP exam that's not good and they based a denial on that, I want to get that cleared up. And so I'm going to make sure that I ask for a higher level review for an exam because they didn't do this, this, and this, and therefore it's not accurate. And that gives me another shot. And meanwhile, I can just send that stuff in. It doesn't mean I have to look at it, but it's in there. Because a lot of times what will happen is if they give you a new CMP exam, they're going to make a new decision. If they do that, they'll use whatever's in the file.
Okay. Bibbs again. Second question. I'm 40% disabled for lumbar sacral strain and now dealing with tingling and numbing sensations shooting down my legs. If I file for radiculopathy, is there a chance they may decrease my current rating for the back?
Because regardless, they're going to evaluate his back. But it depends on how long you've had that rating. If you've had that rating for 5 years or more, probably not. If you haven't, if it's relatively recent.
Yeah, I would be filing that no matter what, though, because ultimately, unfortunately, your radiculopathy is probably going to be rated higher than your back. It's pretty easy to get a 20% rating on both sides. Also, if you're at a 40% back rating, that's, bells are going off on my head of what other issues we have, namely depression, any incontinence issues. What else do you usually file for back?
Those are
the two big ones. I mean, 40% rating, for them to admit that, I'm thinking somebody's not working, honestly, or unable to maintain a job because of severe pains or just physical limitations. So I'd file for that. And again, think about what other secondary, talk to your spouse, talk to your loved ones, talk to your doctor. What else is the back itself causing? 40%, again, it sounds silly, but we rarely see those. VA is incredibly stingy with back ratings. And if they admitted your 40%, that to me says there's a lot more going on than just the back. Step by step, good to see you. Can you share your thoughts on the Haskal case? Oh, yes, we can.
That's exactly it's 28.
We're going to go ahead and do that.
That's what we were going to do.
Remanded. Well, let's see. Does he have the rest of the question here? Remanded as well as striking need for higher level care, SMCT, should be decided by Congress intent. Okay. There's the yada yada. The Carol and I aren't as big fans of court and what they interpret and what they don't and what the statute tells them to do, all that crap. Basically, what you need to know here is the VA in SMC. Well, let's back up. For TBI, traumatic brain injuries, the VA has noted that they can cause disabilities. It can be disabling to a point that's more than 100%. And so extraordinarily disabling. So what they've allowed for is a special monthly compensation just for TBI.
Brand new in the last few years.
It's been about 5 years. Yeah,
that's
new. Okay, so it's called SMCT, and basically what that says is that if you require a certain amount of aid and attendance or care due to the TBI, then you're granted this special monthly compensation T. We've talked about here how there is a plethora of different special monthly compensations. The beauty of this special monthly compensation T is it goes right to the top of the pay scale, which I think in today's dollars,
$10,500.
$10,500. Okay. It's the equivalent, as Carol said, of R2. And to get R2 is extremely difficult. You got to have loss of use of multiple limbs, blindness, extreme need for aid and attendance. So the question was, they were comparing VA.
Well, the need for aid and attendance that was so difficult is it had to be a medical aid and attendance.
Right.
So you could get aid and attendance for helping you dress, bathe, that kind of stuff. But then in order to get R2, you had to show that you needed aid and attendance like IVs, helping you put on prosthesis, things that a doctor or a medical provider would do, which made it really hard with TBI. But they wrote that into their regulations.
Yeah. So what
the Haskal case said.
Yeah, what the Haskal case said is that you do not need this extraordinary level of aid and attendance. You basically just need to show that due to the TBI, you need aid and attendance. So what I want to do is, let's put this over here, is go through their aid and attendance sheet. I'm going to share screen. Okay. Hold on a second here, folks. Okay, we're going to share that one. Nope, we're going to share this one. Okay. So this is the aid and attendance form.
You make it bigger? Is that all?
Can't make it bigger for you. Unfortunately, it's just over here. So it's a 3-page form. Okay. This is just filling out your information. This is talking about where you've treated, what disabilities you have that are considered permanent total. This is for aid and attendance, regular aid and attendance, what's called SMCL. Okay. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is that if you have a TBI and the TBI is causing you to need aid attendance, just get your doctor to fill out this form. Okay. And it's page 3 that's the most important, right? So we're looking at these questions. Is the patient confined to their bed? What are the hours? And then I consider question number 27, frankly, the most important. Okay. This says, does the patient require assistance of any of the following activities? These are called ADLs, activities of daily living. Do they need assistance bathing and showering, eating, self-feeding, dressing, ambulating within the home or living area, tending to hygiene needs, transferring in or out of bed chair, toileting, medication management, and additional activities? Basically, are there other things that they need care for every day? Cooking.
And remember all the things that he read. It's not only can they do them, is will they do them? Do they have to be reminded? Do they have to be forced to do that? They don't want to bathe. They don't understand what's going on with them. And that's usually what you see. They may have the physical ability to do it, but they don't even think to take a shower. They forget to eat. They don't
to take their medicine.
Take their medicine. That's what you usually see and what you want to have pointed out.
So these are the things you need to focus in on if you feel like you have a TBI that causes the need for basically somebody to be helping you day in and day out. Okay. And the beauty of the Alaska case is instead of this just being SMCL, which pays what, $4,300?
No, it's about
$4,700 a month. Okay. That's basic aid and attendance. Basic aid and attendance for TBI now equals SMCT, which, as Carol said, was about $10,500 a month. Okay. So this is a massive change. It's a great change in the case law. Basically, the court said that the VA was imposing too high of a burden on what Congress mandated for this special monthly compensation. So this is something that if you have TBI, you need to look at, because the difference in compensation is huge. $3,700 for 100%. Is that what it is?
No, for 100%, $3,700. For the regular aid and attendance, $4,700 to $4,800. For SMCT, $10,500 a month. And I'm pulling all of my cases out because we've been fighting this, and we've only gotten maybe 4 SMCTs with all our cases in our line of work, because the VA has been vicious about this. Mm-hmm. But there's so many people who need it. I am thinking right now, one that I can't wait to work on. He says when he leaves his house, and he has lived there for years, the only way he can find his way home is his dog helps him get home. I mean, but he doesn't need extraordinary medical conditions. But that's the kind of thing that we're looking for, because that's what this whole thing is for. That's an extraordinary disability. So any of you who know people like that or have that, this is a whole new ballgame. We are really excited about it. In fact, when someone asked last week about this case, I don't remember the case names very much. I just remember what the law was. And I had meant to talk about it. And then when I looked at it, I realized, oh, that's what the guy was talking about. So this is great news. There have been some bad cases that came out, but this is one of the really good ones that came out from the NOVA seminar.
This is, and as Carol said, these are the kind of cases we tend to take because we know the VA is going to deny these, frankly. I still bet, unfortunately, that the regional office is going to deny this because it's just easier for them to do so. So even with this new law, I foresee us having to take a lot of these cases up to the court, or excuse me, hopefully not to the court, but at least to the Board of Veterans Appeals. And so, these are cases that we've been seeing a lot. We have several hundred that we're working on right now. And these are cases that we highly recommend you follow what's on this sheet here. Okay. Get your doctor to do this. Send it in the VA. If they're not granting you these benefits and you need help, we'd love to help you on this, because we see them trying to keep your money.
Infuriating. I mean, because it's like we read these cases and our first thing is, this is great for the veteran. How's the VA going to screw this up?
Right. So hopefully they don't. Again, arm yourself with this form. What's the name of this form? It's 2680 is the name of the form, 21-2680. Take it into your doctor, get him to fill it out. Make sure that in the second page here at the bottom, they're on question 18, what disabilities are considered permanent totally disabling? That's where I'd want to see
traumatic brain
injury in there.
Period.
Yeah, and
nothing else.
Don't put the other disabilities in there because the VA is going to jump on that and say, oh, well, you can't get SMCT. Maybe you can just get SMCL. We don't want to confuse the VA. Okay, if the TBI is causing problems, going back to question 27, as far as where you need assistance, and again, think about what Carol said. If there's a mental component, which most likely there is with a TBI, and it's causing, can't find your house, can't remember to turn the stove off, can't remember to take a bath. Those are the kind of things we're looking at. Okay. What is your spouse doing? What is your loved one in the house doing to make sure you can get through your day that you can't do by yourself? Okay. So that's what I think you need to write down. Get this filled out, send it in. Hopefully the VA gets it right. If they don't, make sure you're at least appealing to the board. We will continue to update what we see on this. And when we see the VA hopefully conceding the benefits they should be giving based on this regulation, but we intend that we will have to fight these all the way because it's such a huge amount of money.
They are not going to want to do
that
this.
Congress has said the veteran's entitled to, but the VA does not want to pay.
Here's another thing that I add at the bottom. When I want the doctor to say when he was in need of this aid and attendance, how long has this been going on? Because if you don't, the VA will, if they give it to you, they're going to start at the date they sign that form. So definitely say,
that's a great point.
These have been limitations in effect since whenever. Okay.
All right. And Nate, were there any more questions on this case?
Nate, did you go away?
We'd be in trouble if Nate went away.
Yes.
Timothy, thanks for educating us on the VA
Great.
process. Won my HLR for bilateral flip-flop condition rated DC 8521, common nerve. I received 40% individual rating for left and right.
Which is bilateral.
Okay. And on my 20996 higher level review form, I included loss of use, but it was not granted to me for whatever reason. I just filed a decision review request 0995 to include my private DBQ from my podiatrist stating my condition is so diminished that amputation with prosthesis would be equal to serve the veteran.
It sounds like you've got what you need.
This helps, as well as a note from occupational therapist saying that I need help with donning my AFOs.
AFOs are a brace that holds the foot in place so it doesn't drop. And when the VA, if the VA is prescribing that or someone, they're essentially saying you have foot drop. So I always tell my clients, if you have foot drop, get these braces so it's on the record that you need those. Also in there, you look like you've done a great job. Make sure you get in there a note about how long you've had this foot drop. I'm telling you, it is so heartbreaking to fight this long to get benefits, to have them start the day of the form.
Or the day that their doctor confirms the form
is
valid. So I'm looking at this, and for your foot drop, bilateral foot drop alone, I think you should probably be at SMCL for aid and attendance.
Yes.
So that's what I'd be looking for. And then again, going back to the Barry case, we talked about if you have other disabilities at 50% or 100%, you should get half step for the 50, 100%, you get a full step for those up as well. Okay. But again, Timothy, this is what we look for here, folks. Y'all are working with us, we're working with you, but what you're doing is you're informing yourself. You're getting both the legal knowledge, the medical knowledge you need, working with your doctors, your occupational therapist. That is phenomenal.
That is great.
This is how you win your cases. Okay. The more technical they are, unfortunately, the more you're going to need to step up. And you've done a great job, Timothy, stepping up here.
And what I want you to know is we change things as we go because sometimes things work and sometimes they don't work. And lately, every case I have that is as well prepared as this, if all this evidence is already in the record, or you can submit it within 90 days and the veteran is 75, or you have a basis for advancing on the docket, go to the BVA. The BVA is they're now working on the AMA cases, and they are working on the motion, when we have motion to advance on the docket, if the veteran is 75 or older. And these are coming out very quickly. And I'm sick of going to the regional office, waiting a year for a decision. and then going to the BVA.
You have to start at the regional office.
You have to start.
If you get a denial, what she's saying is a lot of times what we used to do, sometimes what we still do,
We had to do.
is go back of the supplemental claim or ask for a high level review at the regional office. What she's saying is if you meet those criteria, just go direct to the board. It's called BVA Direct.
No, I don't do direct.
Yeah, waive of the year.
You do what you want to do. I file evidence, which means I have the right. Well, too bad. I file for the evidence review. That allows you 90 days to put any different evidence. Once you put it in, you waive the 90 days and you file a motion to advance on the docket. The direct review, you're going to have to waive the direct review. It's going to take a while anyway. I'm getting these faster than I would the direct.
We disagree, but do one of those two is what she's saying. If you have that all, the main point is you've done a phenomenal job here. This is teed up. Do not give up until you get these benefits.
This is a great, Timothy.
There's one again. If I find supporting evidence for my claim but can't access the documents in the citations, should I submit the claim? Yeah, I mean, can't access the documents. So submit the citations. I mean, basically, you're saying the evidence is here. If they want the physical document or the actual full document, they can go get it.
Right.
You've cited the citation. I think that's good enough there. Natural builder, claim sent back twice to CMP examiner for clarification and rationale. Can I ask for another exam?
You can always ask for another exam, but can you figure out why they sent it back? Were they trying to deny you? Did they answer the question did you say I'm service connected because depression is caused by my back? And they evaluated, were you exposed to toxins? So did they not evaluate the actual claim? Did they say you didn't have a diagnosis? I mean, what was the reason?
You want to see the paperwork going back and forth on the CMP exam. Basically, what was the question asked originally to the CMP examiner when the adjudicator?
You know what? They're not going to be able to get that because
it's on the sheet for the CMP examiner.
So right, but they don't have it.
Right, but you're going to want to get a copy of the CMP exam before you ask for another one.
They're not going to get the clarification. Half the time it's on there, and half the time
she is just contentious today.
I get the C file.
Once you get the final once the CMP has been finalized, ask for a copy of that and look to see what the examiner was being asked. Okay, make sure that's the right question. Meaning, as Carol said, if you have a back disability saying it's causing your depression, they're not asking, was the back injured in service, and is the service connected due to service? You want to know, was the back was the depression secondary to a service connected back? So make sure the question's correct, and make sure then the answer is answering the question, versus sometimes the doctors just go off on their own and answer whatever the heck they want to. Okay, so you want to see and make sure that it was an adequate exam. If it was an inadequate exam, then yes, you want another one.
One of the problems we're seeing is a lot of these are saying your back problem was not connected to the toxins you were exposed to, which is not what you claim. We're seeing a lot of these, and that's why they're going back for clarification or rationale. Sometimes there's a separate paper that they actually have the question the examiner has and the answer. But other times there's another piece of paper that they don't get unless you get the claim file that asks them to clarify. And then you get just the standard CMP exam or the medical opinion that doesn't address it. But that's what you want to know. Why were they doing that? And did they really answer what you asked for? But that's not unusual. We're seeing it go back 3, 4, 5 times.
Reginald, good to see you. Do I need a CMP exam if I've been diagnosed with asthma? I'm already service-connected for sinusitis and rhinitis due to the PACDAC, burn pit exposure. Is that presumptive, Carol, asthma?
Yes.
Then you do not need one.
They're going to send you out anyway.
You would still need a CMP exam for the rating itself.
And the diagnosis, even unless you are going to the VA or somebody they'll believe. Somehow they don't believe other doctors. So if it's the VA, they may agree you have asthma, but they're still going to want a rating. They're still going to have you do a pulmonary function test, go over your medical, your medications. So yeah.
Angel, good to see you. VA denied my Gulf War presumptive chronic fatigue syndrome, even though I submitted a private diagnosis. Now I have both VA and private with IMOs and meds. How often do you see 100% for chronic fatigue?
Once.
I was going to say that's extremely rare. It's really, really hard to get. But again, use your building blocks here. Okay. So even if you get a 30%, I mean, hopefully if you think you're at 100%, then you're at least going to get 60. But what are the building blocks you can use from there? Depression comes to mind, top of mind. Okay. So look to see, has this radically altered your life, your sense of who you are? Are you lost? Are you isolated? You know, we want to see if you can get a depression rating there.
Aid in attendance.
Aid in attendance, but
You're
also
too tired to clean.
I mean, are you able to work? You know, if you've got a really high rating for chronic fatigue syndrome, how often are you able to go to your job? Are you able to consistently work day in, day out? That to me is looking to get you 100% there. Yeah. And as Carol said, do you need help in your daily activity livings?
Headaches, that would be aside from chronic fatigue syndrome, unfortunately incorporates a lot of that, but sometimes you can get a higher rating just for headaches than people will give you for chronic fatigue syndrome. So make sure you allege all of those as separate and then just say chronic fatigue syndrome. But headaches, depression, all of that can be part of chronic fatigue syndrome. And if they agree you have it, they try to put it all together and give you 30%. Don't let them do that. Get a separate rating for the depression, for the headaches, for anything else that comes with that. And then, like we said, start working on your more than 100%. Unemployability, aid in attendance, anything else that you need. But good work getting that.
Yeah. Richard, good to see you. Degenerative disc disease with invertible disc
syndrome
at 40% service connected. Bar ridiculous left side of nerve of this disease with convertible death syndrome, 40%. Should I file for an increase?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Yeah. Bar ridiculous left side of nerve of this.
With convertible death syndrome. I don't know what that is.
I mean, imagine radiculopathy left side. Yeah, I don't know what that is either. But again, 40% for back. We spoke to this earlier. What else is going on?
Yeah.
Because 40% for back is huge. If you have, it looks like you have radiculopathy, what you're saying on the left side, what's going on the right side? You know, it's rare that you have it just on one side. And if you really have 40% for one side, do you also have foot drop due to that? Do you have incontinence? You know, I think we said depression. What are the other issues you have going on there? Can you work with that? TDIU. Casual level expert 1. For endocrine conditions, the regs are very vague. Just filed increase for PCOS, currently rated at 0%. 10% requires continuous treatment, and 30% is symptoms not relieved by continuous treatment. How does the VA combine continuous treatment for rating purposes? You know, you're right that this is vague, and what you need to do is, in a way, define it that benefits you. So are you seeing a doctor on a regular basis?
Medication.
Yeah, medication is the easiest. If you're on medication for it, great. Then if you are on medication or you are seeing a doctor, is that completely alleviating the problem? That's where I would be going to get the 30%, saying, yeah, I'm doing this, but I still notice it day in, day out. And here's how I notice it. Okay. This is what you're going to write in your 4138, which is the form you want to use. So the VA actually looks at it. But you want to say, what is your treatment medicine wise? How often are you seeing the doctor for it? How much does it alleviate the symptoms that you have? And that's how I would shape my argument to get you to 30% there. Lastly, what are examples you've seen of symptoms that justify categories mild, moderate, severe for lumbar nerve conditions? There's little or no clarification given in the regs as to what actually defines mild, moderate, severe for rating purposes. Any examples you can give what's considered. So, use of devices, meds, specific limitations.
That always helps. If you're using any canes, wheelchairs, anything that helps you walk, braces, those are very important.
Yeah. Limitations on being able to walk, limitations on being able to bend over. For the nerve damage, typically I see that more with nerves going out of the sciatica, down the legs,
right?
Radiculopathy. And you're looking at things like tingling,
numbness,
pain, fire, like feeling like your nerve is actually on fire.
Leg giving way.
Yeah. Your loss of muscle tone. That would be
atrophy,
severe.
balance.
Yeah. So balance and atrophy of muscle.
And there you go. I'm really stressed out. Where's that depression claim?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Ironically, it could be that getting the VA benefits you deserve is causing the depression claim. Well, that's still depression, and that's still secondary to your service connected back issue.
I have never had a problem with my back in my entire life. And I had one these last couple of months, and I was stunned at how debilitating it was and how depressing it was. I couldn't do the laundry. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't make food. I didn't want to talk to people. I couldn't walk from one room to the other. It was horrible. And so when you have a 40% for your back, you've got all that stuff, but you're only going to get the benefits you deserve for it if you file all those things. Depression, you're in so much pain, you don't want to be around anybody, and you're laying on a heating pad anyway. You can't do all the things you used to do before. Getting out of the bathtub was impossible. Standing in the shower, it hurt my legs, just stand on them. You need to think about how this has affected your life. And for everybody who has a back problem, I don't see why you haven't filed for depression, radiculopathy, aid in attendance, inability to work. How can you concentrate when that pain is so bad? So I'm telling you, you need to think of this holistically. Your whole life and your whole body has been affected. Don't just take one thing at a time. It's all there, and please file for it.
And that's the problem. The VA is going to say, "Oh, you have a back problem? What can
Boom.
We're going to get our blinders on. How can you bend over? How far can you bend to the side? How far can you bend forward?" That's not the issue with the back. I mean, the back, it's your central nervous canal. Okay, it's pushing out pain and receptors in every part of your lower back, lower body, upper back, upper body. So just as Carol said, we got to think beyond their little scale, okay? Because unfortunately they are not. And that's what's important. Again, knowledge is power here.
Yeah.
Zoe, can you advise on how to submit a claim when you want to increase your rating to 100%, but also want to file for 100% TDIU at the same time? I also want to ensure they take 100% claims seriously.
They do. That's probably one of the things that irritates me the most. I sometimes want to get unemployability because they can go back farther, because they're more likely to rate 100% scheduler more recently. So it does not hurt you to file for both. It gives you an opportunity to get earlier effective date, because say you only have a 70% rating back 5 years, you can get the unemployability, and then meanwhile they give you the 100% now. You've got the best of both worlds. You're getting paid for the past, but you have 100% now, which allows you to work or do whatever you want. So file both.
But as far as you getting to 100%, you need to look at the regulations specific to that disability for which you're being compensated and see what are the criteria for 100%. Okay, look at which ones you meet, list those out in a 4138, saying these are the problems I'm having with this disability, and this problem overall causes me not to be able to keep a job. So that, and so I'm applying both for 100% and TDIU, and that makes them look at both issues.
And this is when somebody in my office, when I ask them to call one of my clients and ask these questions, on the first line, I want to see since
What day?
2015, I have had this since 2020. It is so important to show how long it's gone on, because I'm telling you, it is really devastating to get to win, but win nothing.
Right.
And essentially that's what the VA does. They will take whatever data that statement is, says, oh, it just started today. So please always, everybody in the office knows now, if they don't have it started that way, it's going to come right back. So talk about how long it's been going on, okay, and all the problems you've had.
Larry, my latest claim has been sitting at step 5 decision since July 22nd. How can it take so long to make a decision since all the evidence was supposedly reviewed prior to that step? Thanks again. We have no idea. My thought is they just put those steps in there just so somebody can push a button and say that's the next part, and they get a little bit of credit for it that goes to their work credits.
And here's the thing. Every single time, without exception, I have complained to a higher level, this is happening, and please give me a decision on this. Have somebody look at it. I get a denial, just like that, every single time. And that's why I'll let my cases sit sometimes, because if I push them, I know I'm going to get a denial. It is infuriating. I'll have grant, all the CMPers are fine. They're giving them benefits, denial. So you're in a catch-22.
Right.
July 22nd is not that long ago, and I'd let it play out for a while.
Ryan, part 1. I've been granted 20% rating for multi-level facet arthropathy in my neck condition under a multi-joint arthritis rating code, which includes conditions psoriatic arthritis. I filed an intent to file and was going to file a claim for psoriatic arthritis. Would it be a moot point now? Can I file for it? I would file for it, yes. Can I file for it secondary to multiple joint arthritis, or do I need to get service connected for it directly? I'm also service connected for dermatitis. I take biological that is used to treat both conditions, and under 38 CFR Part 4, biological for, there you go, psoriasis is 6% rating. Again, great. You're looking at the regs, you're seeing what's there. Again, you know what you're entitled to. I would file for it and say, I don't know if it's caused directly by my service or if it was secondary to the joint issue for which I'm already service connected.
And remember, you're supposed to get a rating for every joint it's in.
Yeah. So
I don't know where you just got it for your neck there.
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely file for that. And you should at least get the higher of the two ratings too. The fact that you're taking a systematic therapy for this with the biologics. So again, great job looking at that, seeing the regs, seeing what you're entitled to. Bottom line is file now. Let them sort it out, whether it's direct or service.
They're as boring as we are every Saturday night sitting there reading these regs.
All right, Jim, I have a claim for mental health, PTSD, anxiety, depression, currently on step 5. Currently prescribed medicines for ED because of issue.
Yes.
Can I file? Yes.
Yes, and do it now.
What info do you need?
Nothing. You could just allege that it's a lot of these medications cause it that you take for depression. You can pick any of those, but I would say the depression caused it. All of my mental problems are causing it, and the medication I have to take is causing it. Those are pretty easy to win. If you're service connected for mental health, unless they show that the erectile dysfunction started before you had a mental health problem, those are pretty easy to win.
This is a good question. Another step. What does SMCK? Why does it rate at 0? So SMCK is just considered loss of use of an organ, and it's essentially taking out of the rating schedule. And they say, we are going to pay you SMCK, which is like $130 a month, on top of whatever rating you get. So it doesn't affect your overall rating. You don't get any bumps in your rating for that. They just give you a specific compensation for the loss of use of an organ, and it's counted outside of the whole rating schedule. Why do they do that? I don't know, but that's just what they do. You can have loss of use. I think I've seen up to 7 different organs. And so you get SMCK counted 7 different times.
And a lot of my clients will say SMCK for erectile dysfunction, I got a 0. Well, you're going to get a 0 because the SMC is where you're going to get your money. Where you get more than a 0 is if you have some deformity. Then they can give you a higher rating just for the loss of use, just for the SMCK, the loss of organ, okay? But most of the time, you're going to get a 0.
Twisted L, good to see you. Can you work if you receive ANA? Sure. I mean, if you need help putting clothes on and then you go to work, sure.
I have yet to see it granted. Every single one. I know we're talking about theoretically, but I'm telling you, I have yet to see a client getting aid in attendance if they're working.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, you can ask for it.
Right. You would need your doctor to go to bat for you. I would think.
Yeah.
Terry, I was violently raped on my last day in the Air Force in October 1980. Until recently, I'd never reported it. Just wanted my last check and never wanted anything to do with military. How do I prove this? I'm sorry you went through that. That is absolutely horrible. You were there to serve our country, and you were betrayed by our country.
You were.
And it makes total sense that you just wanted to get the hell out of there.
Unfortunately, that's what everybody does because it's just so horrible. But easily, did you tell somebody at the time? That would be the easiest way to prove it. Did you tell your parents? Did you tell anyone? And just get a statement from them that they told me about this and file. It's getting much easier to win these cases because we know these things happen. And there's a huge group of people. There's a huge movement to have people like you compensated. It's not like it was before where it was horrible. They just turned you down. You need to pursue this. And buddy statements are the best way to get it. If you had stayed in the service and we could show that your performance went down or it went up or there was you asked for a transfer, then that's what we use. But because you got out right away, we really need to see, did you tell anybody? When did you first tell them? And I've won cases even when they didn't tell anybody right away. So please pursue this.
I still think you can also get a statement from loved ones, friends saying,
you were different.
You come out a different person.
Right.
You know, were there material changes in your personality that happened afterward? They just said, who is this person or what's going on? I've found that buddy statements to that can be extremely effective, even when you still haven't told that person. All they say is, gosh, this is not the bright, happy-go-lucky young lady I knew before service. It's like something changed. So that's another way, if you can find people in your life or who were in your life back then who could attest to that, knew you before, knew you after.
And you'd be surprised what people know. My client told me her mother did not know. Her mother knew because the veterans told her friend, who told her mother, who told the veteran's mother. So you'd be surprised what people know, and there's going to be proof there to help you.
Come talk to us if you can't get that.
Yeah, we hate those denials.
We see these too often, and it's kind of cases the VA is just not bending towards the veteran as they should.
But
really
there has been an enormous change, enormous. I cannot tell you. I've won cases at the initial level, which we never did before.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying you need to pursue this.
You're entitled to these.
You're
benefits.
entitled to it.
You stood up for us. You served us, our country.
It makes me furious.
Okay, Nate, let's do 3 more. Butter S, friends, you are all amazing. My question, how massive was...
Massive.
McDonald, I know the VA was unfair towards veterans for years. Thank you. Proud client with sister-in-law firm that you recommended. Okay, great. Yeah, this is huge. And if you missed it, we gave kind of our description of what we think this case is going to do as far as TBI and SMCT cases. Now, again, because we showed you the aid and attendance form, we showed you what you need to do to prove this. Don't assume just because you have the evidence you're going to win. We fully expect that our cases are still going to get denied at the regional office just because that's what they've always done.
Yeah,
they don't want to pay that amount of money. Okay. But these are cases you need to stick to it. You need to fight to the board. If you don't, if you get frustrated, go to us, go to one of our sister firms that we recommend people talk to. Okay. These are important cases because
these are life-changing cases.
Congress gave you these
They
benefits.
meant that for you. They recognize the incredible disability and they want you to have the money. The VA doesn't, but that doesn't mean you should stop because you're going to get it.
So follow that form, get it filled out by your doc, submit it, but don't take that denial. Keep on going if you do get denied. Tiny, good to see you. I would like to understand who can complete a DBQ regarding sleep apnea secondary to PTSD due to MST. Does it have to be a sleep doctor, psych, or can a primary care physician complete it? Yes, a primary care physician can complete it, or a psych, or a sleep study doctor.
The higher the more specialty that the doctor has toward your disability, the better. As you will notice, the VA uses CMPs, but the board does notice it.
Yeah.
The board is quick to say this person is board-trained orthopedic surgeon as opposed to this nurse practitioner who works in general family. So get the best one you can, but any will work. Jarhead.
You see, Jarhead. With the proposed mental health ratings changes, do you believe this will be beneficial to those rated to 50%, mainly because of stable employment status? I mean, this is speculation. These were proposed over 2 years ago. We were told when Carol and I went to the NOVA conference that these new regulations would come out in April. I highly doubt that because that's going to be after an administration change. And I've just seen when the administration changes, stuff like new regs for diagnostic codes either get buried or get changed again or just don't come out. If it does come out, the theory is everybody's going to get a bump. That's what we've been told, that the new regs are more lenient. And so everybody should see a bump up from where they are. That's the theory. But again, in practice.
After 30 years of dealing with the VA, I have heard this so many times.
She is just.
Woo, I'm just tired of them. I'm tired of them doing this. I am so angry about what they did with the AMA. And that's why I have to tell you, I hear what they say. But I'm telling you, every single time they have told us this is a great deal for a veteran. Has it ever been?
Not really. No.
No. So we're telling you what they're saying, but we really don't know what they're going to do. I'm sorry I'm so grumpy, but that's the questions I got asked. Whew.
Was that it, Nate? I mean, am I free of this? Holy moly. Well, folks, there you have it. That is a wrap for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we are so heartened to see all the hard work you all are doing, the digging into the regs, the digging into the diagnostic codes, going out, doing the extra work to get your doctor to back you up, getting them to understand what language they need to put in there so the VA translates it correctly. All of this is so important. I mean, again, you are entitled to these benefits because you served, okay? Unfortunately, you can't just sit back and let the VA do its magic because sometimes it doesn't do the right job. Okay, so good job, everyone. Thanks for pressing us, making us think hard, think deep on these regs, think deep on these issues, because it shows us you're doing this work. Knowledge is power here. Thanks so much. We look forward to seeing y'all again next week on the same time and same space.
Bye.